Welcome to the Wrestle Fam Talk Show. I'm Ron,
I'm Ashley.
and we're doing the AEW Dynamite August 18th review. We're going to cover the in ring action first, and then we'll talk about all the interviews and future matches at the end. When we talk about action, it starts off quick and fast as John Moxley and Eddie Kingston are making their way to the ring for what was supposed to be an interview or an announcement. On the way there, Daniel Garcia and the tag team of 2.0 attack them from behind. That's Matt Lee and Jeff Parker. They enter the ring and they want to start their match with Sting and Darby Allin right away. Ashley, I think you enjoyed the beginning part of the show.
I did. I think 2.0 is my favorite new tag team, and I think any interaction they have with Sting is priceless to me. Very entertaining.
Yeah, they're great. So they get what they want. Sting and Darby Allin make their way out. Right off the bat, they start brawling. They go outside the ring. I'm sure the fans there are just loving that. All the way up the corridor to almost where you enter the building or enter the arena area where you sit. They throw Darby Allin. They launch him to the ceiling, double team Sting, and then even triple team because Daniel Garcia is right there with them. So it's 3-on-2 because Kingston and Moxley have been taken to the back. They work their way back down the stairs, and it's three of them on Sting. And then Darby Allin walks on a concrete wall that separates the seats and makes a dive. And then Eddie Kingston comes back out, takes Daniel Garcia to the back. Sting and Darby then lead 2.0 back to the ring, and that's where the fun starts. As Darby Allin I didn't think he got too much offense in.
No, I don't think so. 2.0 was, it seemed like they were really on to Sting.
Yeah, I believe this was the Sting show.
Yeah.
They really showcased him. 2.0 at the end ends up putting Sting through a table, and he just pops up. Sting ends up locking them both into, well, first he does the double Scorpion Death Drop, and then locks them into a double Scorpion Deathlock to finish off the match. They both tap. That was a pretty funny part.
That was amazing.
Darby looked like he was cut open. I don't really seen where he had got cut open, but he was bleeding at the end. But this match was all Sting.
Oh yeah, made him look good.
Yeah, that 2.0, they're just great. They're great at putting someone on the stage like that, making them look really good.
You know, I enjoy even that they lost, and every time they've wrestled, they lost. But it's very entertaining. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it was great. Match number 2, we have Shawn Spears versus Sammy Guevara. I believe they had some interviews. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Key part, I had picked Shawn Spears. I thought he should win this match. And then when they showed the little vignette of Sammy Guevara proposing to his girlfriend, and then I remembered they were in Houston, I knew it didn't look good for Shawn Spears. So this match, high impact moves. Only thing about him, Sammy Guevara seems like a nice dude. Watch his vlog. Goes to children's birthday parties. Just a down to earth guy. Signs autographs. Shawn Spears trying to get his big break. He just hasn't been winning any matches. My only kind of thing that kind of bothered me, and I think I talked about it on my first Ron's rant, is the big moves off the top rope. We had a diamond cutter by Sammy Guevara onto Shawn Spears off the top rope. We had a Death Valley driver from Shawn Spears to Sammy Guevara off the top rope. Both moves devastating, even without being off the top rope. They hit him off the top rope, and then the person performing the move just automatically stands up and goes for a cover. I'm kind of old school. I kind of, like I always say, I kind of put it into like a real life perspective. If I'm falling from the same distance that you're falling, even though I'm performing the move, it should still hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have just loved to have seen maybe a slow cover. That way, it wasn't just a quick pin and then a kick out. It just makes them look superhuman. But other than that, I mean, the moves look great. They perform them well, and then it's just the little things. Like when later on when Chris Jericho did a move off the top rope, he kind of took his time to cover. Just little old school things like that. They even brought a ladder out not a ladder, I'm sorry, a garden rail. They draped that. Spears went on to that. Sammy Guevara ends up hitting his finishing move, and Spears kicks out of that. I didn't know what was going to put who away. And then finally, Sammy Guevara exposes his knee, hits Spears about 3 times with his knee, cuts him open. I don't know if it was a real way that he got hit or if it was the old school way that wrestlers bleed, but it looked pretty devastating. And then he does his little reverse, almost like a go to sleep, almost like the CM Punk move. Drops Spears and gets the win. Would have loved to seen Spears win this one. He needs a win, I think. He hasn't won in a while. I can't remember last time Shawn Spears has beaten anybody. So I don't know if that's part of the storyline where, like I said earlier in the preview, if they're going to kick him out because he's losing so much, or if this is just the way they have him go. But Spears, another loss for him. Then we have an interview actually in the ring. Those ones I will cover. It's Dan Lambert. He is an MMA coach. He has Junior Dos Santos and Andre Arlovsky, former UFC fighters, in the ring. He kind of portrays them as if they still work for the UFC because he says he talked to Dana White, and Dana White let him have those fighters with him. But if you follow it, I believe both of them are no longer under UFC, so Dana White wouldn't have cared. But it's a good way of him acting like, oh, I have some pull. Lance Archer, of course, had attacked Dan Lambert about 6 weeks ago after he was talking bad about AEW. So Lance Archer tries to come out and attack Dan Lambert. Of course, the UFC fighters or the former UFC fighters are there blocking him, and that's when Men of the Year, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page come out, and they sort of beat up Lance Archer. I mean, I've seen, especially after the last match, the things they did to Lance Archer, I'm thinking, I don't think that would put Lance Archer down. But Lance Archer was acting like he had just been dropped pretty good. And I mean, after seeing him against John Moxley doing the barbed wire and the tables and that, it just looked like a regular, like I'm just holding you and the other guy punches you. I mean, they set the bar so high on what it takes to knock someone down. I just couldn't believe Lance Archer just couldn't get up and fight these guys.
Yeah, especially after seeing that match with Moxley, you would think he'd be able to handle it.
Yeah, I mean, he was getting hit with everything and getting stabbed in the head with force, but all it took was a few boots from Scorpio Sky as Ethan Page held him, or vice versa, and he's down. so, so that was a little like, oh, is that all it took? And then they just leave and go to another segment. The next match that's in the ring is the tag team title match. It's Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, against the Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus. In the corner of the Young Bucks, they have everybody. Nakazawa, they have Brandon Cutler, Don Callis, they have Gallows and Anderson. And in the corner of Jurassic Express, they just have Marco Stunt, who I haven't seen in a while on Dynamite, so it was good to see Marco. So during our preview, I expected the Elite to get their revenge. So after a great matchup, I mean, there was a lot of great moves. The brain buster or the suplex that Jungle Boy did off of Luchasaurus' shoulders onto one of the Young Bucks was great. A lot of pile drivers and moves off the top and double teams. The only thing that kind of was weird is I compared it to the Sammy Guevara matchup. In the end, Jungle Boy looks like he's going to win. They've hit the Young Bucks with all the big moves, and the Young Bucks keep breaking up the count. Then Luchasaurus does a moonsault onto the whole group that's out there, that's with the Elite. When he does the moonsault, he lands on his feet and kind of leans against the railing, and it like he can't get in the ring. Then he just acts like, oh, I'm hurt, but he landed on his feet, and I'm sitting there thinking, The ones that are landing on their backs doing the moves in the Sammy Guevara match are popping back up and going for a pin. You land on your feet, and then you kind of lean against the railing, and you can't move. So when you compare that, if you try to make sense of it, it doesn't make sense. But so after all these devastating moves, I'm talking assisted tombstones, flips, flying super kicks. The Young Bucks put them away with the 2 knees to the head. And I guess I'll go on a Ron's rant here. I don't know the level of the moves of where they rank them in the tier, but I'm going to be honest. I've been watching AEW for 2 years now. A lot of the moves that are hit the second move in the match are more devastating than these finishers.
Yeah.
I I don't really, when you put it in context of the impact. You have Chris Jericho doing a spinning elbow. The Young Bucks doing. They stand there, they hold your arms, and then they hit you with 2 knees, one on each side. And then Sammy Guevara hit Shawn Spears with moves that were just awesome. That should have just got a 3 count. And what he did is he exposed his knee, like a hard knee without a pad is more devastating than a diamond cutter off the top rope.
Yeah, I can see that.
I just like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just too old school of watching from years ago. And like I said in our first ever video, I kind of just related to, okay, these guys know how to do the moves, but I relate it to like a mixed martial arts where white belt, black belt. I'm not going to go through it again, but it is still kind of hard just watching, just going, okay, I just seen a move that was more impactful, better displayed, looked like it hurt more than the move you just pinned the person with. So I don't see that changing. I think that's the new style of wrestling. I'm sure there's enough people that complain about it, but I'm doing a review. I'm going to point out good and bad. I'm not just going to say all good, and just saying my opinion. Which I mean, anybody can agree or disagree, but it still doesn't change the way I see it, and I'll respect anyone's opinion. But to me, I wouldn't want my finisher to look more devastating than a setup move or the second move that I hit you in the match that you kicked out at 2.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, great storyline going on here because after the match, after the Young Bucks win, uh, they do a beatdown. During the match, Kenny Omega comes out with the chair, hits Marco Stunt, slides it in. They did a little tease of what they did last week that costed Kenny Omega the championship. I did like that part where it looked like the Young Bucks were going to lose because the chair got used on them. But after the match, they're beating down Jurassic Express. Christian tries to come out and help. And the number game's just too much. And the Elite get back at Jurassic Express and Christian, which was to be expected because Christian and Jurassic Express were really putting it on the Elite for the past few weeks. But all in all, good match. I mean, I'm not saying the action isn't exciting. I'm not saying the moves are not exciting, and I'm not entertained. But in the common sense of what looks like what.
Yeah, you would think those moves would take
Yeah,
him out.
I'm just treating it as being in the moment. Like, okay, I'm watching something, a real competition. But obviously, we know what it is. But that's fine. I mean, all right. So then after this match, the next segment that's inside of a ring is Paul White, who's the Big Show. He was the Big Show in WWE. He comes out for an interview. Pretty much, Tony Schiavone's just thanking him for coming out and helping him and his son from being attacked from QT Marshall and the the factory. Well, it doesn't take too long because Paul White's about to make an announcement. We all have a feeling of what it is because he kept talking about how great it was to be back in the ring. Well, QT Marshall comes out, interrupts, just talks bad about Paul White, shows some injuries that Paul White had, some x-rays about his hip. Pretty much, long story short, Paul White's returning. His first match is against QT Marshall, and it's going to be at the pay-per-view at All Out on September 5th. So the return of the Big Show or Paul White. So that's great to see.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe bring him back for those big events, almost like a. You could probably treat Paul White like an Undertaker,
Yeah.
like make it a big deal. Like, all right, who's facing Paul White? That's what they do in the WWE. They bring guys that are or girls that aren't going to be wrestling all year. They bring them in for the big show, and
He is a big
he's
show.
the big show. So. Then we have Ricky Starks and Brian Cage. There was a confusion if it was going to be a match. They said a face to face. I went into it thinking like an interview, and that's what it was going to end up being. So Taz and his son Hook are in the ring. Ricky Starks comes out and he calls out Brian Cage. It's a setup. Will Hobbs is beating down Brian Cage, and then Brian Cage starts coming back, and then they just leave, and that was it. I had said in the preview that I didn't know if anyone had been kicked out of a group before, and I mistakenly didn't think of Brian Cage. He had been kicked out of the Team Taz.
Okay.
So, but I think again, I have to think back. I don't know if anybody else has been kicked out of the group, but Brian Cage was the first one. But I had said in the preview that I'm thinking Shawn Spears should be on his way out of the Pinnacle. The way he talks is like I'm on top, but you haven't beaten anybody. So,
Yeah.
So I'm just unless that's the storyline where he's getting kicked out. So that's what I predict. Anyways, so real short segment there with Brian Cage and Starks. Didn't really do anything for me.
Yeah, me either. Actually, it was confusing because I was like, "What's going on here?"
Yeah, I don't know if it's just a small tidbit where okay, they were going to do face to face and then they can't, and it just continues on. But I didn't really see the need for that segment. It was so short. I don't think anybody was really caring about that one. Speaking about not caring, the next match. I'm going to hand it off to you. It's Penelope Ford versus Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, I was actually rooting for Thunder Rosa, so I'm kind of glad that she won. A lot of flexibility, a lot of good moves. I thought it was awesome. Uh, and I was very excited for Thunder Rosa to win. You know, I think Texas really enjoys Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, and when I referenced the not caring, I'm handing it off to you. You weren't really fond of Penelope Ford's outfit.
No, I think it was unnecessary. I think sometimes you don't have to go that far.
Yeah, you pointed out that it was maybe a lingerie type of outfit, and they showed a match, like a action of her from before, and she wore regular wrestling gear, but this gear was a little weird.
Yeah, I just think, a lot of stuff like that. I'm like, you know what? You don't need to do that. I think, just wear some awesome wrestling gear. And I think that's all that matters. I mean, your moves should show the thing anyway.
Yeah, it almost kind of goes back to what the women wrestling has been trying to.
Get away from.
Yeah,
I don't think it's necessary. I mean, you want more women to watch it, more, I guess, normal women, you want to actually see that. I don't want to see that. I think I want to actually see the moves. I'm not there to see your outfit.
yeah. I mean, if a group of women are out here at the house and they're trying to attack your family, Ashley, are you putting on Victoria's Secret to go out there and fight them?
No, unlikely not.
You're putting your butt kicking boots on.
Most likely.
You're throwing the shirt on. You're throwing your pants on. You ain't caring how you're
No,
looking. You're heading out there for a fight.
exactly. Throw that rear naked choke on them.
There you go. We are a jujitsu family, by the way, as well.
Exactly. Are you just mad because I can kick your butt?
No, I'm not mad at that at all. I'm glad you can. I'm glad you can beat me. I'm gladly the anytime I can be the
Guinea pig?
guinea pig, the crash test dummy for you and the kids with whatever my body can handle, which isn't much.
Yeah, not with me anymore.
No. I just watch. I watch and I'm amazed by you guys and how well you did. But anyways, back to the AEW Dynamite main event. MJF, Chris Jericho starts off. We all expected it. The crowd singing Jericho's entrance music. I think it was planned better than what actually happened there. And I know we can play Monday quarterback. But let's just say the crowd, if they had sung it correctly to start off. still just I believe Jericho mentioned it in an interview. AEW sent out the lyrics. By the time the event happened, the magic portion of it to me as a fan just watching wasn't there. It almost felt forced.
Yeah, because at first I didn't understand what they were singing because they were all off. They weren't together at first.
Yeah, and it reminded me of a story from high school. We had a Spanish class, and my best bud was in it, and we were supposed to learn a song. The teacher had gave it to us maybe, I mean, a good 6 weeks prior to it. Did I look at it? Of course not. Had better things to do. Had more wrestling to watch. Had Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. So it comes time. It's maybe a Friday. It's time for the class to just sit there in our desk, and we're gonna sing the song. My best buddy, number one in the class, valedictorian. What did he do? He studied. And it starts. She tells us, "Go ahead." The music kind of plays, and that's what it kind of reminded me here. It was Matthew. He's the only one singing the hard parts of the song until we get to the chorus. And you would have thought there was a crowd in that school when it hit Soy Loco por ti. And those were the only words that I knew of that song. But I sung it as loud as I could and as proud as I could. And then when that portion was over and it went back to other words I had not studied, I was quiet. And that's what it kind of was. Everybody knows the chorus of the Jericho song, but a lot of people don't know the beginning. And you could tell right off the bat, there was a handful that had their phones out trying to sing it. But when he came out, you didn't know what they were singing. Then it all kind of came together when it was getting close to the chorus. So playing Monday quarterback, you would think maybe it could have been like a day of stipulation where he's coming out, they're playing the song, they get past the hard part, and then MJF would have been like, no, 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 no. We're not, cut it off. We're not doing this, to the point where, okay, now the fans would have picked it up from then, because the way it was done, as bad as I wanted it to be so good, it was not. It was forced, and then the song itself, the crowd just didn't sing it too good. Which, I mean, I can't blame them. I mean, I didn't know I don't know the words of the beginning part of the song. All I know is the main chorus, and that's why it reminded me of that Spanish. Like, who am I? Who am I to judge these people in the crowd that didn't put the effort in to learn the song when I didn't learn a song in Spanish? So there were a few Matthews out there, and there were a lot of Rons.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way. So we expected MJF to win this. We wanted MJF to win. They go through the match. As they go through the match, I didn't have that feel of Jericho really wants to get to MJF. They've been building this up for weeks. And it kind of reminded me of, I think it was like last year. I watched one match of WWE. They had a pay-per-view, and I think like Bray Wyatt had gone to the Miz's house, tormented his wife, and threatened his kids or something. And they were supposed to have this grudge match at the pay-per-view. So Bray Wyatt's in the ring, and here comes the Miz. And instead of just heading into the ring and wanting to fight to defend his wife's honor and his children, they play his music. He comes out. He does his little twist and turn and point and just walks to the ring as if it was just a normal match. And that's what I kind of felt here. Like, Jericho's been working so hard to get to MJF, so hard to earn this match, that, having the crowd sing the song, he had to take, time to acknowledge that, kind of get at MJF. I just didn't feel that intensity in the beginning of the match. Now, it got intense at the end, but it just didn't feel like, okay, this was the end all. This was the match we've been waiting for. They put on a great match. They had some funny parts in there with the camera, Jericho hitting his moves. They scanned the crowd. There was a guy that was shocked when Jericho hit the lion salt. And turn to Ashley and I go, Jericho hits that move every match of his whole entire career. What are you shocked about? I think after the Undertaker streak, when they showed the guy that was shocked, everyone that ever buys a ticket to these shows, no matter what move's done, they're all trying to do the I'm shocked face to hopefully get on TV.
Well,
Like,
it worked.
like, holy cow, he's got him in an armbar. Let me hold my head with my mouth open like I just won the beauty pageant. You ever see the
Yeah.
models when they shake and they got their hands up and right by their mouth and they cover their mouth? Who celebrates like that? I should start like if I go to the kids' basketball games or something and they hit a shot, I should just celebrate
Why
like
not?
like I won Miss America or be shocked like I'm a wrestling fan. Oh, what a 2 points. What? So the lion just shocked this guy. Whoa. Jericho. He did the move he does every match. What a surprise. Holy cow. But anyways, end all here. Like I said, we're going to be covering the interviews. There was so many interviews. I just didn't want to break up the action here with these interviews. There were so many matches
Yeah.
that were announced. I'm gonna actually we're gonna pause this and then I'm gonna go and I have to look at all these matches that were announced, all these interviews that were done. A lot of information flowing out there. So, what do you give the in-ring portion of AEW Dynamite? What do you? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it great?
It was pretty good. It wasn't bad, but it was pretty good tonight.
Yeah, yeah. It's above good. It's not the best show we've seen.
No, but it's
But
not bad.
that doesn't mean it's bad at all. That doesn't mean
No.
that it's not even. It's up there. Just a few critiques, and those are just old school things. Things
It's just little details.
like the young people now that are watching wrestling. This is what you're growing up on. So in the future, you're going to remember this so much. I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, so the style is differently, but because I was a kid, it meant so much more to me
Yeah.
than it does now. I was attached to those wrestlers so much more and paid so much more attention to it that if it diverts from what I was used to as a kid, that's where I'm like, maybe they should do this and that because I hope to get back to my childhood. But the ones that are in the early 20s and that they grew up like this, so they don't have a problem with it, which is fine. Like I'm sure when I was watching in the 80s and 90s, there were older people that were like, Buddy Rogers didn't do that, or Lou Thez would have never done this and that. It is the same way as you get older, you just become the grumpy pants. So,
of course.
But yeah, well, let me look this stuff up so I get some good information. We'll get those matches for you in any interviews that happen. All right, the first interview that was done for the night was Sean Spears. It was right after they had announced Sammy Guevara and asked his girlfriend to marry him. He mentions Sammy's fiance and makes a little joke about it, about being on top. You can guess what that's all about. I'm not going to go into it for any of the young listeners, if there's any. My thing with that, if the precedence was set for other people, and I think we all know if you've been watching AEW who's been suspended before and things of that nature, why would you go back to that line the next few weeks here? And if you've already set the standard, you already said, okay, yeah, I'm giving everybody a free mic to say what they want. But if it goes too far, they're suspended or whatever like that, then you should shut it down for everybody.
Yeah.
Because a joke like that, if it wasn't acceptable a few weeks ago, a year ago, and even though, those things were accepted 20 years ago, but they set the standard. They're like, okay, we're being risky. We're being we're going right to the line. We're crossing the line. Then all right, you have the standard then. So everybody's doing it. And your company says we're fine with it. We're a show. We're like a movie.
Yeah.
A lot of people get in an uproar about what people say during these shows. then you need to get mad at movies. But then again, if the company says, okay, this is too much, then why have someone else come out and make a joke like that? That did nothing for the match.
No.
You could have said something differently. You could have talked about her and necessarily put Sammy down. Like what is a lady like you doing with a loser like that?
Yeah.
Something like that where you're putting your opponent down. But talking about, you know, these are raps and jokes that John Cena did years ago. If you go back when he was rapping,
Mm-hmm.
the same thing that Max Caster got suspended for, things of that nature. If you go back 20 years, you'll see raps and innuendos, things of that nature. What I'm saying is they suspended somebody, and now weeks later you're saying, okay, we're letting that one slide.
Yeah.
If I'm Max Caster, and this is the real world, we're not talking about in character. I'm going, yeah, that's what we're doing.
Exactly.
Because that's what I'm thinking, and I'm not even in any type of bit. I'm just a fan, this guy watching. But these are real people too,
Mm-hmm.
and they have real emotions. So if I'm Max Caster, I'm thinking, you gave me a free mic. You said I could go out there and do what I want to do. I make a rap that could have gotten away 20 years ago. That's fine. The world has changed. Not even getting into that. Everybody has their opinions. The standard's set, though. You have suspended him. And so 2 weeks later, you're going to allow this guy to say that. And then everybody just laughs it off. To me, that falls into the same level. If people are thinking, oh, well, that's the same thing. That could fall under harassment.
Yeah.
Even though she probably knew that it was coming. So did probably the lady, Julia Hart, probably knew it was coming a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
He still got suspended, even though she might have been fine with it. Same thing here. So I'm a little shocked by that they would have needed to say that. I don't see what that did to the match. So if you want to watch that interview, see what I'm talking about. Like I said, would I be making a big deal about it right now? No. Not if what they didn't do to Max Caster.
Yeah.
Because when he said that, any other week, months before, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's what they do on the show. But once you find out someone's been suspended for saying something, and I know there was more to Max Caster's thing, but still, they brought that part up too about it.
Yeah.
Too, they made a big deal about that as well. So that fell in line, the whole thing. So, anyways, I'll let you make that judgment. Any listeners out there, everybody has an opinion. We all have one. That's just mine. Another interview. Christian talks to Don Callis again. Pretty much just repeats his funny line from last week to him, and just think they're going with. I don't think they thought anybody would take Christian serious against Kenny Omega, so they had him beat Kenny Omega to know that, and he keeps bringing it up. I can beat you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just an interview, pretty much putting Christian over that. I'm not worried about Kenny Omega. I know I can beat him. Chris Jericho does an interview talking about MJF, and this is what I had referenced earlier. He said, "I know the crowd's going to be singing my song. I could have done without that as well."
Yeah.
Meaning, I mean, it wasn't like a bad interview, but to me, it was just. I wanted it to be so organic, where it wasn't planned. It didn't feel planned. But when they sent out the lyrics, and then Chris Jericho mentions it, they could have sung that song so beautiful, and it still took that shock value away, that organic moment. It felt forced. Just watching it on TV. What do you think about that, babe? Because that was your idea. You brought that up last week, and I thought it was the greatest thing.
Yeah. It wasn't as big of a bam as I would have thought it was, but I agree with you. I think if it wasn't as planned, I think it would have still gone better. I think it would have been a lot better.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter, they have an interview. Pretty much Hayter challenges Red Velvet to a match. That match is going to take place on next week's Dynamite. Hater looked pretty good. I didn't realize she had that much of a defined muscles in her arms when she debuted. I was like, oh, that's the muscle, but I didn't realize she had. She looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Like tough, nice look to her. Then Matt Hardy gets on there, talks about his battles with the best friends, and he pretty much challenges Orange Cassidy. And so that match is going to happen next week on Dynamite. Orange responds pretty quick to the challenge, so that's going to be on next week's Dynamite. One of your favorites, one of my favorites as well, Jade Cargill. She gets on there, and we're actually going to see her on the live TV here on Rampage because she challenges Kiera Hogan. To me, it seems like on Rampage, they're going to have that middle match be the okay, we're putting a star and we're putting someone that doesn't have a chance against them, one of those quick matches
Mm-hmm.
to really showcase the wrestler on there. And it's great. You sandwich Jade Cargill's match right in the middle there. She dominates. A lot of eyes are going to be on Friday here on Rampage because this is the one that's supposedly CM Punk's supposed to be showing up. So why not showcase Jade Cargill? Smart move.
Yeah, that's very smart.
There's one woman I would want showcased on that show. Britt Baker's already made.
Yeah.
She already has the shine. She main evented last week's Rampage. Jade Cargill.
Yeah, I think it'll be good.
Future champion right there.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's going to be the future woman to lead the pack of ladies there. Then you got Andrade. He interrupts again an interview by the Lucha Brothers and Pac. And he has some conditions for Pac's match with him at All Out. And he hands a big stack of papers
Wow.
to Pac. And those are the conditions. So we'll see what that is. And then that was it. A tag tournament is announced. The winner of this tag tournament is going to face the Young Bucks in a steel cage at the pay-per-view on September 5th. You have Private Party. The Lucha Brothers are in it. Jurassic Express and the Varsity Blondes. So they announced the matches on Friday for Rampage. It's Jurassic Express versus Private Party. Then on Dynamite, it's going to be the Varsity Blondes versus the Lucha Brothers. Two of our favorite tag teams going at it.
Yeah,
Varsity
I'm
and
excited.
Lucha. I think Lucha's taking this one.
Yeah, I think so.
Private Party does have a victory over the Young Bucks very early on in AEW's history. They haven't really been showcased. Anyone in the Hardy office has they're all lost within each other in there.
Yeah.
They need room. They need some breathing room to showcase themselves. I feel like Private Party has gone backwards, and it's nothing that they've done wrong.
No, I think they're really entertaining. I
Yeah,
actually like watching them wrestle.
they're a great tag team,
Yeah.
but there's only so much you can do when you're put in a different position. I felt like they were in a higher position when they debuted.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens. And same with Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy, and it seems to always happen to Matt Hardy.
Yeah.
He comes into a federation or a promotion, main eventer. And the main event's one of the top guys. And then once you blink, there he is in the middle of the pack. Again, I don't know if Matt Hardy likes to do that in helping these younger wrestlers out, which is great. But it just always seems to happen to him. Hopefully it's by his choice. Hopefully it's not anything else. But he just seems to kind of fall back and kind of loses that shine.
Yeah.
Which I hate to see. I mean, I would like to
Mhm.
see Matt Hardy back doing Matt Hardy things in main events.
Yeah. So would I.
So, but I'm predicting Lucha Brothers because Jurassic Express has just lost to the Young Bucks. You don't want to redo that match. Private Party is nowhere near being ready for the titles if you're going off of win losses storyline. If you're going off of talent, all these teams are great. Varsity Blondes, they've lost to the Young Bucks. They got their shot a few months back. So Lucha Brothers, they haven't even been touching the Young Bucks
Yeah.
lately interacting with them. At one point they were, but I think it's been enough time, and they built the Lucha Brothers up. So that would be my pick. Obviously, could be wrong, but that's who I would pick. Then another interview: Arn Anderson and Brock Anderson. Arn doesn't look too pleased, but you know what I like about this? The realness.
Mm-hmm.
They showed the video of Malachi Black kicking Arn Anderson in the head. Any son would want to defend their father.
Yep.
They got hurt. That's what you've seen here, because Brock Anderson has signed a match against Malachi Black, and Arn Anderson is not too pleased because he knows Malachi Black's going to hurt Brock, which is a great story. I mean, this is when I went my little rant there. This is that old school stuff I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I love storylines that are realistic. Yeah, we all know it's a show, but when you watch a movie, you know it's a show as well. You want it to be as you get lost in it. Sometimes there's emotional parts in a movie.
Well, you just get lost in the story,
You
and
get
it
lost in-
really you kind of relate.
Yeah, and this one is a great storyline. If somebody kicked my butt, which is easy to do, and my sons would come to my aid, you know, that pulls the strings,
Yep.
you know. So yeah, great storyline. We'll see how it goes. John Moxley, last interview that we're covering. Very emotional outburst. He talks, and I like it. He talks crap about good guys, about bad guys, about future people coming into the promotion, about wrestlers that have already joined the promotion, but they joined it after it got hot, he said. He was the flagship. He was the one that came over and put the stake down and said, you know, we're taking over. He sends out shots to Daniel Garcia because he's got Daniel Garcia in the main event on Rampage on Friday. Now here's the question. They've been building up Darby Allin. They've been making it seem like he's the one that's going to be facing CM Punk. He's the one that's been doing the promotion. You got John Moxley in the main event. It's only an hour. Does John Moxley put Daniel Garcia away quickly and then go to the back, and then we have a CM Punk, Darby Allin type of thing? Or does CM Punk come out and we may have Darby Allin, John Moxley, CM Punk kind of thing? Would that be a triple threat that you would want to see?
I think so.
Would they do a triple threat for CM Punk at the pay-per-view, or are they saving John Moxley for maybe Hiroshi Tanahashi, if I'm even saying his name right? The guy from New Japan that just won the United States title. I don't know. He's the one that's been challenging all the Japanese wrestlers, but he's in the main event here, and CM Punk's supposed to be showing up, and I don't think CM Punk's debuting in the first 2 minutes of the show. But then again,
You never know.
you never know. That could happen. Well, hope you enjoyed our AEW Dynamite review. Hope you liked it. Hope you listen again. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.